Welcome back to another show, ladies and gentlemen, to the Built for Anything podcast. I'm your host, Hertz, and today we got a good show lined up. We're going to talk a little bit of Deshaun Watson. We're going to talk about the aftermath of Bob McNair comments, Jay-Z's comments on tour in reply to the situation with the Texans and Bob McNair, some Roger Goodell, and a little bit of the Cavs. Let's get right into it, y'all. So I'm coming to you live here in Dallas. It is definitely getting colder, and I had to rock the hoodie today. Not the Nike hoodie, even though I just got one of those. And speaking of Nike, I don't know about you guys, but I've seen too many jersey malfunctions in the NBA. Like, this is crazy. Almost every other game, somebody's jersey looks like it just exploded. You ever watch like Incredible Hulk and right when Bruce Banner gets upset and he just rips out of his clothes? Like, that's how these jerseys look. It's just they need to check the materials on it. I understand that they want to make it light, but I think when you look at them, where they have their names in the back, they have it like tightened in a way where you always see the player's name, even if they're like running or, sweating or anything like that. You still see it. I think that type of construction is just no good. I don't know. They need to take a look at that. But like I said, the hoodies are banging, man. I got a Lakers one here. Man, the material feels nice. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. But let's get right into it, y'all. Deshaun Watson is a baller, ladies and gentlemen. Deshaun Watson is a baller. I knew when he came in from Clemson. I remember watching that draft night, and I was just surprised at teams who obviously needed quarterbacks that just passed up on him. And I was actually happy that he landed in Houston because I felt like that was a location where they just needed a quarterback. They were great defensively, and they just needed somebody other than a Brock Osweiler, somebody who can really command the offense and really make it exciting over there. And so far, he's off to a great start. 19 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, QBR rating of 103. And this is just 7 games in. Now the Texans are 3-4, but man, they are exciting to watch. And for him being a rookie, it's going to be scary. It's really going to be scary because he's only going to get better. And it's exciting to watch. They played a hell of a game last night. Now, this is the Texans versus the Seahawks. Who knew the Seahawks could put up that many points? I will say this, though, going back to the Texans, it really sucks that J.J. Watt isn't there because I feel like with him and Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney, they have a really great pass rush. And, with J.J. Watt not being there, it does take a little bit of, it makes it really hard for them to really get to the passer because he's the best defensive player in football. But these injuries are starting to happen a lot, and it really makes you wonder if J.J. Watt's best years is behind him. So, really tip my hat off to that Texans team. Now, I heard some people saying, maybe they were playing hard, out of frustration of the comments of Bob McNair. I don't believe in any of that. I think a lot of these guys are competitive. I think they approach the game the same way had those comments not been made. Now, if anything, if you're in sports, you really want to try to quiet the noise. And when you have distractions like this, where people are more concerned with what you do before the game rather than what you do during the game, then it could be a problem. You know, Randy Moss said in one of the halftimes that when are we going to start talking about football again? Like, this is 7 games in, you know, and we're still talking about, you know, kneeling and all these other issues. And he's like, man, you know, there's some good things happening in football. You know, for example, with Carson Wentz, you know, his maturation process, Deshaun Watson, and a number of other things that's going on in the league. And it seems like the dominating headline is about what's going on off field with the players meeting with Goodell and the owners and the kneeling. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot now. But it was great to see them play hard. They lost the game, but it was a very, very entertaining game. And, you know, they're in a division where, you know, they play with teams like the Titans, the Jaguars, who are the only ones ahead of them. And then you have the Colts, who is just a complete failure. You know, you never know. There might be a playoff berth for them, you know, if they really get some things together. But we'll have to pay very close attention to him, man. I really feel like it's true what Richard Sherman said. You know, in a few years, this guy's going to be a top 5 quarterback. He's off to a really, really great start. Now, he does take a lot of chances. You know, there's a little bit of Brett Favre in him. But, you know, that's just a rookie. You know, I think when you come in as a rookie and you're carrying your team, you got to take risks. And, you know, sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. But Seattle threw the whole kitchen sink at him, and they still was able to put up a lot of points. So that tells you something really, really good about that. Now, let's get on with these Bob McNair comments. Now, if you caught the last podcast, I talked about what Bob McNair said. His comments about, you know, you can't have the inmates running the prison, which is, you know, a metaphor for, you know, you can't have the inmates running the asylum. That's usually what context you would use that in, is to describe that you don't want the employees or the people working for you making the decisions for the business. That's usually how it's used. I highlighted him being 80 years old, end of December, different generation. He could have misspoke or not. That could be exactly what he meant, was prison. But at the end of the day, you know, the comments were not made directly to the players. It was made to the owners, and it leaked out. And, you know, the players took great offense to it. He's since apologized. He met with the team personally to speak to them and apologize. And they were going to do something. That's what they said. They would do something before the game. And what they did was they all kneeled, with the exception of 10. Some people stood. And there you have it. But now you have Jay-Z, who made some comments on tour. And I'm going to read that for you guys now. Now, this is right before he went into his song called The Story of OJ, which, if some of you are not aware, it's a song off of Jay-Z's latest album, 444, where he basically talks about, you know, OJ Simpson and essentially calling him a coon. Because OJ is the type, he made the infamous comment of, I'm not black, I'm OJ. So before he got into that, he made some comments. He said, they're injuring themselves on the field, referring to the players, giving it all they got. That's how they look at you. That's what they think about you. We got so much further to go. The truth is, we all believe in whatever you believe in. God, Allah, whatever you believe in. We come from one source, which means we are all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. So these were his comments. And, you have some other people saying that, the players shouldn't have played. They should have missed games and all these things. And like I said before, it's easy for people to say these things, but they're not paying your bills. When you're losing out on millions of dollars as a result, they're not supporting you. Okay? So I don't think it's that easy. And I don't think the situation necessarily warrants that. He's apologized. Only those players would know what their interaction truly is with Bob McNair. Now, you have some players on the team, like DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm just highlighting him because that's who he's one of their star players. And they talked about how, he did miss practice and how he was contemplating sitting out the game. And look, you got to understand something. Some of these guys, when you're paid millions of dollars, people, at your beck and call, you can have everything you want. To find out that you're not, you don't get a seat at the table. It's shocking for a lot of people. To find out that, you're just a worker, even though you're handsomely paid, but you're just a worker. You're just an asset. Like I alluded to in my last podcast, you're either an appreciating asset or a depreciating asset, but you're an asset. And a lot of these guys, it's a shock to them. Your whole life coming into the league, you were being praised. You have all this money, you're buying cars, you're buying mansions, you can have all the women you want. And here you are in a situation where you realize that you're just a number. You're just a player. And it's shocking to them. It really messes them up. My message to them, just like my message to anyone else, is why should you care? You should not care. You should have more self-confidence and self-worth that you don't care about those comments, because that's how they feel. How you should take it is you have a job that pays you millions of dollars. You take that money and you do right by your family or you do right by your community. And if you really want to make your own rules and you really want to have a seat at the table, you create your own league. But these are not things that players are thinking about. Instead, they think they're going to change the minds of old Caucasian billionaires. It's not going to happen. It's just not. And as far as, again, like Jay-Z mentioned, we're all brothers and sisters at the end of the day. Listen. Yes, but I talked about the equality thing. When it comes to a job or personal relationships, everything is not equal. I agree that we should treat people with respect, but a lot of times respect is earned. And so if we go about life, really being so concerned with how others view us, then you're going to have a hard life. Because they're going to be people, no matter who you are, There's going to be people that like you. There's going to be people that don't like you. And a lot of times, there's nothing you can do to change their minds. So why not take your ball and go? Now, I'm not saying that players should quit their jobs or anything like that. No. I think it's time that they understand that it is a job and you're being paid handsomely. And there are people who would love to take your spot at any moment. So don't worry about it being equal, because it's not. Worry about the impact that you can have either on your community, right, and your family. Or again, create your own league. Instead of trying to change the minds of people who are so steadfast in their own beliefs. And again, this kneeling. Think of the times that you kneel. You know, you would kneel when you're proposing to a woman, or you get down on both knees when you're praying. Or if we go even further back, you know, a knight would get down on one knee right before he's knighted. So in none of those examples is kneeling a sign of disrespect. If anything, it's a sign of praise. So I don't know what exactly is the kneeling supposed to do. I don't get it. And okay, you want to have the conversation about social injustice and, you know, police brutality, etc. Listen, it's not the job of the NFL. Go talk to your politicians. Go talk to your lawmakers. Go speak to the police departments. Ask to talk to the lieutenants. You have the ability to do that. That's the voice that you have. Getting down on one knee on TV does not change the demographic of the situation. It doesn't. And when you ask what is the end game is equality. That's insane. Equality what? You're asking, so let me get this right. You're putting it on the shoulders of the owners and the NFL to bring about equality in the world? What are you talking about? Listen, look, I don't mean to laugh, because I know there's people that take this way too seriously. But I just, you got to be a three-dimensional thinker. Okay? And you have to be able to really look at situations. And even when it comes to protests, every protest has an outline in terms of what they want to accomplish. When you think of protests in a workplace, it's usually for work conditions, things that have the ability to be changed within the job. If the players were protesting that the fact that they want to have guaranteed contracts and, you know, they want to, for example, take away some of the power from Roger Goodell, who has complete autonomy. That's something that tangible. That's something that you can say, I'm going to hold out and force you guys to meet me halfway on this particular issue. But to talk about equality and police brutality, the whole situation of Colin Kaepernick even protesting and using this platform to do that was counterproductive, because there was no real plan behind it. There was no real end game behind it. And even he realized it, and that's why he decided that he was going to stand. But yet you have other factions out there and other groups that saw the opportunity to hijack this and turn it and make it into their own thing, which is what you're seeing nowadays. And so, no, players, you should not walk out of your job or anything like that. That's not going to change the situation. Now, there was a meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow between the players, Roger Goodell, the owners, and it was speculated that Colin Kaepernick would be there. Now that meeting has since been called off. And I believe this was called off by the owners. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're not confident in Roger Goodell. They see the comments that was sent out of Bob McNair. And right now they're really trying to figure out how they can suppress this issue, because the league is losing money as a result of this. And I keep trying to relate this to people. If you have a business and somebody who you hire who has freedom of speech, if they come into your job, into your workplace, and they say things or do things that is driving away the business, regardless of what you say, how right or wrong it may be, chances are you would not have a job. I have yet to have anybody disagree with me on that. I think that's, if you've ever had a job in your life or you work for someone, I think you would agree with those sentiments. Now, when you can call your own shots, when you can say what you want to say and do what you want to do, when you are the business, you are the business owner, then you can roll to the beat of your own drum. But a lot of people don't think in that capacity. So yet they want to work for someone, but yet they want to have the same rights to the business as the person they work for. I just, where in the hell does that ever happen? Where? And if you work a 9-to-5, especially for a big corporation, the CEO doesn't give a damn about you or know you personally or care for you on any high level. It's all about your performance, your ability to either bring money into the company or not. They're not thinking about you or trying to bring you in to make decisions on the business. And if you become more of a headache to them, they have no problem of getting rid of you and moving on. Again, how many people work for a job and think that they're CEOs or the owner of the business? I'm talking high up. I'm not talking about your immediate manager. I'm talking about the person who you probably never ever see. You think they really are looking to you or willing to capitulate to you on demands such as how the business is to be run, especially from a profits and losses point of view, which is again what they're in business for. They're looking at the bottom line. And the NFL is a business. And so I could imagine how difficult it is for players who probably has never owned a business, ran a business, is going to sit at the table with a lot of self-made billionaires and expect to come out of that agreement, out of that meeting, feeling equal to them. It's just, I don't know. I just don't see it. I really, really don't. And so when we move on to Roger Goodell, now, Roger Goodell's in trouble, people. He is in trouble because, this really goes back to the Ray Rice situation. He has shown the ability to drop the ball. See, Roger Goodell's job, he works for the owners. He's supposed to take the bulk of the media hate. His job is to protect the owners and protect the shield, which in turn he is grossly overpaid. I mean, this guy is making, I think one year he grossed over 40 million. It's just, wow. Mind-boggling. But his job is to make the owner's job easier. You see, because with Goodell having complete power, essentially he is a tool for the owners who they have complete power. But when he is making decisions that is negatively impacting the business, they have to now reevaluate him. Because when you look at other commissioners, again, I'll use Adam Silver, for example, with the staged situation with Donald Sterling, where he immediately got in front of that, had him removed, allegedly, got him removed, and immediately quelled any concerns of the players potentially walking out. You heard rumors of players demanding to be traded, etc., not wanting to play for that franchise at all. And so Roger Goodell's job is not to be a player's commissioner. His job is to make sure that the players are in line and the business is protected from media scrutiny. Because right now, the impact that this is having on the NFL, I'm telling you, it's really bad, and it may take years before the NFL really recovers. Because let me tell you something. These owners behind closed doors, the next CBA meeting, they are looking to see how they can prevent this situation from ever occurring again. And Roger Goodell's job should have been, from the moment that Colin Kaepernick was kneeling and it was problematic in terms of, how it was being perceived with people who looked at that as being offensive to the flag, he should have immediately got in front of it and said, hey, we understand your concerns. We understand there are things that you guys want to do that can be done off the field. Nobody is stopping you. But on the field, we have money that we get from the Army. We have money that we get from sponsors. And we are a for-profit business. We are not in the business of social justice or things of that sort. Things that have diametrically opposed beliefs. It is not our job to suppress that. And he should have immediately got in the front of that. Whether that meant fines, games, something. But he didn't do that. And therefore, this thing has manifested into this woke movement. And now it's gotten so big, even beyond the players, because half of these players, I don't even think they even know what this is about anymore. But it's gotten so big. It's, ESPN leads their show with, who kneeled, who did it. It's taken over the game. And when you add this with the CTE issues, they have big problems. They have a lot of problems that they really have to fix. And Roger Goodell, he's on the hot seat. In fact, you have Jerry Jones, who's probably the most powerful owner. He is one of the main reasons why they have not moved forward with finalizing I believe another 3 to 5 year deal with Goodell. A lot of it has to do with what's going on with this, because you see Jerry Jones and even Bob McNair, especially here in Texas, because you have a lot of conservatives, they've lost a lot of money as a result of this. They're not Seattle, or Oakland, where you have more liberals out there. No, they're in the Bible Belt. And Jerry Jones, I'm pretty sure, does not like losing money, especially with that $1 billion plus Stadium, which I visited last week, by the way, which is, again, I highly recommend if you're in Dallas, even if you're not a fan of them, definitely do the tour. It's a very beautiful stadium. You could see that there was a lot of money and a lot of attention to detail. But again, he has a business to run. And I'm pretty sure he is the most impacted as a result of, these protests and this kneeling. And so I'm going to really be paying close attention to see what happens, because either Roger Goodell, really starts putting his foot down all of a sudden, or he'll be out the door. So we'll have to see about that. So let's switch gears a little bit. I said I would mention the Cavs. Listen, I know it's early in the season, but this is a team that was horrible defensively last year. And so far, they're starting off horrible this year. They can't stop anybody. When you have teams like the Knicks scoring over 100 points, you have the Nets, you lose to the Nets all in the same week. Again, somebody please name the starting five of the Knicks for me. Outside of Kristaps Porzingis, who the hell? Their JV team. And they ran the Cavs out of the gym. I think a lot of teams are looking at them and saying, hey, we could run on these guys. We're younger. We're probably more athletic, depending on who they're playing. And this allure of LeBron James is not there for a lot of these players. A lot of these players are attacking. And he is not as good as he used to be defensively. He's shrunk, I should say. Especially since he's no longer, I'm just going to say, on stuff. Look, LeBron James' name was mentioned in the biogenesis ledger. Again, you can say it's all speculation all you want in terms of him and PEDs. So some people, if they don't see him injecting it in his ass, they won't believe it. So I just got to look at how he performed at one point to how he's performing now. And when you look at it from an athletic point of view, size point of view, he's cycled off of that stuff. His game has completely changed. But again, that's just my point of view. You don't have to agree with it. I'm just talking about when you look at his gameplay right now, he apparently can't carry this team. Now, what I will say is they are going to be potentially dangerous when you have D Rose and D Wade coming off the bench, especially down the stretch. When you have Isaiah Thomas come back, even though, again, defensively, he's a liability, but, he can add some scoring. I think it is a concern that if he comes in at the halfway mark, getting him acclimated is going to be another task. But this team, again, like I said, they're definitely loaded. But defensively, they can't stop a cold. They can't. And so I think LeBron is aware of the situation, and this is a guy who pays attention to his stats. Listen, I went to the Knicks versus the Cavs. This was I think it was the first year that he came back. Kyrie was there, Kevin Love, and the game was at the Garden, and I sat very close behind the Cavs bench, and I saw every timeout, almost every dead ball, LeBron is looking at his stats. So he is very aware of the numbers. And I think even you hear him mention, all I need to do at this point in my career is, average over 80% from the free throw line. He's very dialed in to his numbers because he is trying to stuff the stat sheet in order to really solidify his argument, because he knows that he's not going to win the championship argument. He already has 5 NBA losses on his record. And so now he understands that we're in an age where everybody's stat hungry. And so he's trying to see if he can maybe fill in some of those blanks in order to overshadow a lot of his failures. Now, this could be at the expense of winning. So you're definitely seeing that in their gameplay. But again, it is early. Can't get, too dramatic over it. But again, this is carrying over from last year. I know these guys think that they can turn it up. But again, this league, it's a young man's league. And players are maturing and they have systems that they're playing, and the Cavs are not playing a system, and they're going to have a hard time. They're going to have to really put some things together down the stretch if they plan on getting through the postseason and making it competitive against whoever comes out of the West. Ideally, Golden State. So we'll have to keep our eyes on them. And so, I got to do this every episode. My Ball So Hard award goes to, it's going to go to Deshaun Watson, for his gameplay. They didn't win the game, but listen, man, he put up a hell of a performance, and I think he's arrived, and he's going to really start to get the attention that I believe he deserves. And my flop of the game award goes to, listen, none other than the Cavs, man. Again, you cannot lose to the New York Knicks if you're the Cavs and you're a loaded team and you're expected to get to the finals and run through the East. So is the East really that good, or they're that bad? And I don't think the East is that good. So you know the rest. It's your boy, Built for Anything. Thank you for listening to this podcast. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Once again, you can catch this podcast on iTunes, Podbean, Google Play. And for those of you who are subscribed to me on YouTube, Built for Anything, and that's Built, the number 4, Anything, I do upload the podcast there as well. But I highly recommend listening to it the way it's designed to be listened to, which is on a podcast app. You either got an iPhone or you got an Android. So let's make it happen, people. Thank you very much. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace and love, y'all. Y'all be great. I'm out.